It can be lonely at the top. We all know what it's like to lead and own a business and wanting to scale, but finding yourself at a glass ceiling. That is where the power of collaboration and connection comes in. Hi, I'm Natasha Malani. I'm an expert at helping businesses and business owners harness the power of collaboration to connect, scale and grow. I am passionate about collaboration. I believe no one executes alone. We all do better when we do it together. Welcome to this Power of Collaboration podcast. It's wonderful to have you here. I hope that you get the inspiration and information you need to harness the power of collaboration to break through your glass ceilings. Today, we're talking to Anjani Amriit. Welcome, Anjani.
Thank you.
You are a conscious leadership expert and women's empowerment advocate.
Yes.
Powerful words. We're going to talk more about that, and we're going to talk about collaboration, of course, my favourite topic. And you're from New South Wales?
Yes. I've been living in Sydney for 22 years and now I'm in Byron Bay.
So welcome to South Australia.
Thank you.
Anjani, let's just start with a bit of your background.
I am daughter of a shepherd, an actual real shepherd. And my father was an entrepreneur. And I guess in the early days, he had a restaurant and I saw the power of connection and collaboration that happened in his community, so Greek Cypriot, in that community. My dad was a great entrepreneur and a great connector as well. And the people that came into his cafe were the community. And so much got done through that collaboration. So I myself went into law and I call myself a reformed lawyer. I had 16 years as a corporate lawyer, buying and selling companies. And whilst I worked in the most prestigious law firms in the world, my heart was empty. It was like my soul had been sucked out of me. It had no meaning for me personally. And so after doing a meditation course, a meditation program, which literally blew my mind and had me feeling in bliss for 3 days, I took myself off to India to have my own really eat, pray, love story, and worked with yogi masters for over a decade and learnt some powerful practices that helped me remember who I was, come back home to myself, find my happiness and my purpose. And the connections and collaborations that were a part of that really brought it home to me how powerful it is to have your own community, connect with other people, connect with like-minded people, because that nourishes you constantly.
I feel like I would get on very well with your father, and I love your family connection and that grassroots story to collaboration, because collaboration is at all different levels. It can be local community, it can be big business, and that's what I truly love about it, being surrounded by it. Reformed lawyer, you said. You said you moved into meditation. I'd just like to clarify for those listening who we talked about you being a women's empowerment advocate, but for men and women listening alike, the messages you're going to hear today are the same and they are for you. And I do hope you absorb them in the light that is meant to be just for you. Conscious leadership expert, women's empowerment advocate. What do those words mean?
Essentially, it's helping people working on their own internal dynamics, so helping them get awareness around their mindsets, their thoughts, their beliefs, that are default settings that we think all of the time, but we're not aware that we're thinking, that limits us, that glass ceilings our progress. And also connecting in with our emotions and gaining the information, the rich information that our emotions give us. In the West, we are taught, especially in business, to shut down our emotions, that our emotions are a sign of weakness and we shouldn't have negative emotions. We should suppress them and medicate them. And in the East, what I learned was our power is in our emotions. Our power is in being able to master our mindset and train the conditions to what we want them, rather than let the outside conditions train us into what we think and believe. And that makes us very powerful. So then we can build on that and bring in consciousness. And what I mean by that is a moral conscience. How do we bring what we do in our lives into making the world a better place. And that's the purpose piece. How do we bring more purpose into our communities, our family, our businesses, so that we're doing good and we're making a positive difference? Because that's the very thing that's like rocket fuel for us when we can get onto that. And women's empowerment advocate, I never say I support women to be empowered. Women are empowered. But what I do help women to do is see it for themselves, because often they're doing amazing jobs, but they just don't realize it. And so once they realize how amazing they are, then they fully connect to their power, and they can then make the seemingly impossible possible.
Purpose. We talk a lot about purpose. Talk about purpose in business, as you said, and purpose in life. They are intertwined, aren't they?
I think so, yes. I think if you have a passion for something and you bring that into your vocation, then you never work a day ever again, because it feeds you, it nourishes you, and then it nourishes the world. And in return, the good news is that then you get to receive back from that in such a massive way, which is why collaborating on something that you're passionate about it's like having the Olympic flame. It really is. And people want to be part of that light that gets built and created.
Conscious bias is what we talked about earlier, and you talk about being a leader. Is this the world in which we've been conditioned around us, the little voice in our head? What's something that someone that's listening to can resonate with, going, oh, I know that's that little voice in my head, that saboteur that tells me I don't do anything good sometimes. Is that what we're talking about here?
Yeah, so unconscious bias is our own internal narrative that we have going on that often we're not aware of. It's a real blind spot when we will say to ourselves, I'm not good enough, or I'm too fat, I'm too thin, I'm too this, I'm too that, I'm not enough this, I'm not enough that. And it's that inner critic voice that just is so mean to us. And we buy into its lies. And when we get really clear about that, when we get aware about what that voice is saying, and we no longer allow it to be mean to us, to continue to be mean to us, when we master it and when we boss it, then we take our power back from that. And most of us have got that inner critic going on, and it comes from a Western society. It comes from, we're raised with it. We're raised, tall poppy syndrome. Don't biggen yourself, and don't talk well about yourself, and don't be selfish. And so we internalize those messages from society, and that's how we limit ourselves greatly.
Yeah, we people please, we judge ourselves, and there's a level of anxiety in the world, especially with things that are going on in the news right now. How do you mentioned meditation before, how do we change our own narrative? How do we protect ourselves, be kind?
It's a great question. Self-awareness is key. So we have to be aware of crimes that we're committing to ourselves or allowing that voice to do to us. And that really is 75% of the way there to changing it, because it creates and cultivates awareness. And so self-inquiry leads to self-awareness, and then we're more likely to self-correct. We're more likely to support ourselves when we realize how mean we're allowing that inner voice to be to us. So it's important that we do that inner work and have that self-awareness, and most importantly, be a compassionate witness to ourself doing that, so that we don't get into a fight with ourselves and we don't aggress ourselves, but we actually bring a lot of loving kindness to ourselves when we realize something we've been doing that's been sabotaging ourselves.
When we're kinder to ourselves, we're kinder to others. When we're kinder to others, we collaborate, we connect, we build a community.
Yeah, kindness can also spread. And that's what we're all wanting. We think we want money and a car and status and, the promotion. And yes, we can get all those things, but I can tell you from my own personal experience, having had all of that, I was still very empty inside. And when I began to study with the yogis and received an abundance of kindness and love and compassion, that's what opened my heart to who I really am and my purpose. And to get to our purpose, we have to open our heart. So kindness is a key, self-kindness, and it's not selfishness. I call it selfing, where we put ourselves first and we make sure that we are cup full, and then we can serve others from cup full.
And abundance. You use the word abundance. When you think about it, everything is abundant. Air, money, everything we're surrounded by is abundant versus scarcity. And scarcity and collaboration certainly don't go together. Abundance and collaboration go together.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I've never really thought about it like that, and you're so right. When we collaborate with each other, we feel more abundant because we're more connected. And abundance is a feeling of richness and being enriched and connecting with others who are like-minded, who are also looking to do good in the world, is the most abundant place we can be. And ironically, when we feel good by doing good, and there's a thing called the helper's high, where when we give, we feel high, we actually receive more than we give, then that's contagious. And then when we're in a room of people doing that, that makes us very abundant in our lives.
Very true, and I like to get quite practical. So there's a little insight there for people listening. Do something to give and to share. You will feel the reward. That's that feeling. We all know it. It is a high, like exercise. So there's a little practical task for everyone right there. And collaboration. So Anjani once shared a very valuable insight with me, and that is we teach what we need to learn. And my passion has been around sharing the learnings from you and collaborating with you on how we can empower women and the South Australian Leaders Network and family and friends. So collaboration is where we've actually, it's brought us together here. Mm. And we're doing some interesting things now, aren't we?
We are. I'm loving what we're doing. We just came from a beautiful session today with some amazing women who are all successful in their own right. And we sat round a table in Bendigo Bank, and I think that was the first meeting I'd ever had at a corporate table that was just women, and all very successful women. And it was so powerful because we all shared from the heart. We were all very vulnerable, very open, and you could feel the connections instantly. So normally when you have a meeting and you're networking, here, let's go to a networking session, it's quite false, there's barriers up there. You only share, here's what I do, and there's no richness about it. But the richness that we all got today from the session was, we'll all take that with us, and we all had something to give. We were the Brains Trust. We all had something to give and share of the heart. There were tears, there was joy, there was laughter. And that's real connection, and that's the real power of collaboration, because we will make friends instantly that way. And people deal with their friends, and then there's no forcing, there's no pushing, there's just allowing it to naturally occur, and that organic collaboration is the most precious.
You have to be authentic to enter into connection, collaboration and partnerships, trust. In fact, I've shared many a time to the SA Leaders Network when I was going through the foster carer training, vulnerability leads to authenticity. It's authenticity that leads to greatness. That's really what we're all seeking to achieve, isn't it? Greatness.
I think so. I would say greatness in reaching our highest potential, our highest capacity. And I couldn't agree more with that, yeah.
Greatness in whatever definition is great to you. To those of you that are listening, that legacy, that greatness, that purpose, just have a little think about what that is and how you can join forces to get there. And Anjani mentioned earlier awareness of maybe some of our own personal barriers, that once you get that awareness, do they just go away? you have to work on it, I guess, but what will they lift?
Yes, because it no longer has power over us, because we can see it outside of us rather than believing that's me. So for me, the whole time I was a corporate lawyer, even though I worked in the most prestigious law firms around the world, I never felt good enough. So on the outside looking in, I had it all. But on the inside, I felt like I was a fraud. I had massive imposter syndrome. I was a big perfectionist, so I would work longer and harder than anyone else. And I burnt myself out doing it, like I literally burnt out. It was because on the inside didn't feel good enough. When I got the awareness around that I had very little self-esteem, then I immediately went into that harsh critic, and it was a wise person that helped me realize that I had to show compassion for myself. And so one thing that you can do is offer yourself some fearless love and compassion, and that's what will ride you through that time, through that awareness, because we're all growing and learning all of the time, and no one's perfect. I'm not perfect, you're not perfect. And I think our Western society has us set such a high bar for ourselves that we have to be perfect, and we're not. There's perfection in the imperfection.
We hear about imposter syndrome mentioned a lot. You talk about giving yourself compassion as a way to move forward. What are some practical tips we can do? We might be going into a meeting. We want to get our head and heart aligned. What's some practical tips that we can do?
Well, first of all, it's important that if we're hearing that inner critic, if we're, the heart's thumping, the heart's racing, or we're sweating, or we're feeling a bit wobbly, then just doing some belly breathing, a few belly breaths, deep belly breaths, just to get back in our bodies, because we'll often jump out of our bodies. So we want to be grounded in our body. The other things we can do is, as we're breathing, imagine roots coming out of the base of our spine and our feet, just plugging some roots into the earth. That will also help us feel grounded, safe and stable. And then we can talk compassionately to ourselves. So we can say things like, I've got this. I'm doing really well. I'm doing the best I can. I'm always doing the best I can. I can do this. I am worthy. I've earned my place here. I am good enough. Just some gentle, kind words, thinking about what the things that you are good at, your heart, where you are kind and compassionate, and just reminding yourself of that. It's so important, but we're not taught this. And so it's important that we retrain ourselves this way.
And for those listening that run a business or have got people that report to them, or they've got those responsibilities, how can they better support the people in their workplace or even their community groups to collaborate, connect, be part of that community, to build that confidence?
I think it comes back to authenticity. And I heard the word social credit, and it really disturbed me because I hadn't heard it before. I don't know, I must live under a rock or something.
I've not heard of that term either.
But this person was saying, my parents told me I have to build this social credit. And so this person was going out and basically making friends with everyone who they thought they needed in their life to get ahead. That's not the way we collaborate, because it comes from a scarcity mindset, and it also comes from I have to go out there and assert myself and get this. So in order to collaborate and help others collaborate, it's about being authentic and vulnerable, and it's about sharing who I am and what I need. And again, we're not taught this, but it's really important for us to ask for help. Ask for what we want. Ask people who are where we want to be to pull us up. And you'll be surprised at the amount of people that do say yes, if you allow them, if you believe that they will. So, these days I have no issue in asking people who are way up the food chain than I am to open a door for me. And more often than not, they will.
And I think that's a really important point. We're not alone. As a leader, if you're in a business or making decisions, you're not alone. There are always people there to support, to ask questions of, to collaborate and connect with. And but you've got to ask the question. You've got to ask for help.
It's so important to ask for help and to know, please know if you're listening to this, that asking for help is not a weakness and it's not a sign of failure. It's actually a strength. If I can ask for help, that's me showing strength and courage, that I'm saying, I don't have this, but you have this piece of the puzzle. Let's collaborate together. And then when you bring two pieces of the puzzle together, it's very powerful.
And I shamelessly say that's what SA Leaders is about. Like, it's absolutely why I wake up and get out of bed every day. The people in the network, I don't exist without them. It's all about them. Any last final insights?
I think it's really important for people to understand that when we're looking at the power of collaboration, we really have to understand that we have to bring our whole self into any collaboration and get clear on what your vision is. So if you're collaborating someone, get clear on, are our values aligned? Is our vision aligned? Are we on a similar page? And get that really clear out right at the front, because it's better to know in the beginning, and then you can make an informed decision about whether that's going to work for you or not, practically and tactically, as opposed to what a lot of people do is go, yeah, let's collaborate. But then they don't do that strategy piece, and they don't look at, do they have compatible values? Do they have a compatible vision? And I myself have, fallen at the wayside, having not done that, and got excited, oh, they're my friends, or, I've known them a long time, it's going to work. And sometimes it just doesn't, because you have different values. So I would say collaborate, yes, and also do a bit of a strategy work and find out about each other. And that way you'll know for sure. And then, you can have that match made in heaven and it'll work really well.
Perfect advice. And I think that goes for simple and more complex partnerships and connections. So thank you, Anjani, and I'm really looking forward to spending the next sort of 24 hours with you in South Australia. At South Australian Leaders, we are all about collaboration and community. If you're curious to know more about how we help businesses and leaders just like you scale and grow beyond their glass ceilings, then visit our website at www.saleaders.com.au. And please don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast with your network, and write a review if you really enjoyed it. This has been an Audiosity production. I'm Natasha Malani. I look forward to chatting with you next time. Happy connecting.